Bon locale, mes amours, and welcome. Welcome to the first 7 at 7 with 7, which is going to be something I'm going to start doing every Saturday. Every Saturday at 7 p.m., I'm going to be coming to you, I being Sevi, which is short for 7, with 7 news stories that I think rather succinctly sum up the week. And we're going to have a lot of fun today, guys. But before we start, I would like you to please, no sound. I don't know why you guys didn't get the song. I think YouTube just auto fucking censored me. Sorry, but the song was Fiona Apple's Extraordinary Machine, because it's just a song I love, and taking the time to do that allows the stream to catch up, because I'm on hotel internet right now. Hotel internet is shit. But if we're going to make do, aren't we, guys? But yes, let us start by saying, please consider donating to my Patreon, PayPal, or donor box, as I am currently in a hotel for a week. And if I can get $250 together, I will have an apartment to stay in. I need that by the 21st, so I'm going to be doing a lot of extra streams this week. I'm also going to be taking gigs on Craigslist, doing anything I can to make that money. But if you can help out in any way, please do, because getting that apartment will just be an amazing thing. It'll be the next step in a larger goal of really getting myself in, where we're at. But now that I've done the shilling, I'm going to forget all the fuck about that and move on to say, how is everyone? I have missed you all so very much. I've missed you all so very much because the hurricane took out the power in the place I was living, and I was there for about a week. Now, moving on with my life, because, well, enough lies have been said about it already, and it was a private matter when it happened, and it should have stayed a private matter. Instead, we are going to focus entirely on the absolute insanity in the world today. And have you guys seen it? Have you fucking seen it? Oh my God. So St. Louis has gone insane. Seattle's gone insane. Apparently there are Juggalos in Washington, D.C. I had no fucking clue they could travel. Congregated in one place like mold growing in a fridge. Apparently not. They have made quite the journey, and the Juggalo March is in Washington, D.C. Several punches. First up on our list is going to be St. Louis, because you can't not talk about St. Louis. And we're going to start with today's article from the Associated Press. Lewis's cop acquittal triggers second day of protests. Noisy demonstrators marched through suburban St. Louis, not a poor area, not a black area, scale area of suburban St. Louis. They're finally fucking learning, guys. I think they're finally fucking learning to not destroy their own shit. I don't know whether to be happy about this or not, but if you look at the screen right now, I don't know if you guys can see the share very well, but oh yeah, you guys can see it. It's just, oh wait, I gotta hit present to everyone. I'm an asshole. Oh right, yeah, let's just get all these fuck ups out of the way the first time. Noisy demonstrators marched through 2 malls in an upscale area of suburban St. Louis Saturday to protest the acquittal of a white former St. Louis officer in the shooting of a black man, picking up after a night of mostly peaceful demonstrations that escalated into scattered acts of vandalism and violence. Now, do take note that they make very clear that this was a white officer who shot a black man. If it was the other way around, do you honestly think this would even be a news story? The AP wouldn't even pick it up. After all, black cops shoot white people all the time, and it never makes the news. But a few hundred people walked through West County Center in Tipjar, an upscale community west of St. Louis, loudly chanting slogans such as Black Lives Matter and "It is our duty to fight freedom," to decry the judge's verdict Friday. Okay. But no one's not free. Someone's dead, but he's not in prison. It's our duty to fight for, I don't know. I have no fucking clue what he's on about. Clearing ex-St. Louis police officer Jason Stockley of first-degree murder in the 2011 shooting of Anthony Lamar Smith. They demonstrated at Chesterfield Mall and at a festival featuring across the. So they crashed a food festival and an extremely upscale white mall. Chesterfield is actually a chain of malls across the United States. They have malls in all throughout the South, in St. Louis and other cities in. If they have them out west, I've only seen one out west in California, but they are a very large mall chain. So it actually kind of makes sense that they would go there because they do see capitalism as their enemy, and Chesterfield of capitalism. No arrests were reported at demonstrations. The mall protests followed raucous daytime marches in downtown St. Louis and through the city's the posh Saints. By the way, we're just going to take note of the names here. Jim Salter, very white name. Summer Ballantine, that's also a very white name. Protesters were making it very clear, they said, that the entire region, not just the predominantly black areas of St. Louis, should feel uncomfortable with the verdict and its impact. Let us watch a little video. Fucking chooses to load again. Oh. Here's footage of that protest. This appears to be from last night, not today. So, or yesterday, not today, because yesterday is when the happening occurred. Now, for those of you who are paying attention, there were a number of streams watching these overhead cams, as well as the sounds. And I don't even know if you guys can hear me. Let me check on the chat. Right. Look at this shit. Oh, wow. Now, there were complaints that they weren't using pepper spray, that it smelled different. However, no reports have indicated of their police pay grade. And despite the no arrest P article, there were many people who were detained for violence, for breaking the police line, for so much more. Yeah, unfortunately, you are going to have a little bit of bandwidth. I'm going to have bandwidth problems while I'm at the hotel. I deeply apologize for that. Occasionally, I will come through robotic, but it should fix itself. If it gets, I'll just refresh. But, yeah, and now we've got a whole bunch of people bitching. I feel helpless and I just feel rage, Susanna Prinz, a 27-year-old white woman from University City, another St. Louis suburb, said. She carried a sign reading, "White silence is violence." Now that is quite the fucking sign. People don't stick up for blood. It's violence. What isn't violence in this day and age, fucks? Everything violence. There were people rioting at the Ben Shapiro speech, and their chant was, "Speech is violence, we will not be silenced." But I don't think they understood that by saying that, they were implying that they want to commit violence. And they want to not be silenced. They want to speak. Obviously, they want to cause violence. But, you know, that's just my thinking about shit. What kind of retard does that? Smith's death is just one of the several high-profile U.S. cases in recent years in which a white officer suspect, including the 2014 killing of Michael Brown in nearby Ferguson, that sparked months of angry and sometimes violent protests. Arakeen gets it. Republican Governor Eric Greitens was highly critical during his 2016 campaign of how former Democratic Governor Jay Nixon managed this, suggesting that with the right presence and leadership, there couldn't have under the banner of Black Lives Matter wanted to riot, wanted a fucking war. So no surprise to me, lasted months, and then kept, not to mention the situation. That's kind of disingenuous to put alongside this. This is a 2011 shooting that had nothing to do with Black Lives Matter, had nothing to do with any of the crimes that led to this racial divide within this country. This instead was made into a statement when it wasn't. You know what? I gotta look up something right quick. Let's be cheap and grab the wiki page for, what's his name? Jason Stocky. Wiki Jason Stocky. I think that's it. What was his name again? Just double checking. Stockley, excuse me. Yes, I meant Jason Stockley. The shooting of Anthony Lamar Smith. Police officer Stockley and his partner have stated they saw Smith engaged in a drug deal. Dashcam video from their police car recorded Smith reversed his car into their vehicle twice before driving off. A 3-minute high-speed car chase ensued. Then Stockley told his partner to ram the other car. Stockley was recorded during the chase as saying, "Going to kill this motherfucker, don't you know it?" After the car was stopped, Stockley and his partner, Brian Chianti, with liver, approached Smith's vehicle. Witnesses testified and dashcam footage showed that Stockley yelled at Smith through the driver's side window of Smith's vehicle to open the door. Stockley testified that Smith did not comply, but rather appeared to be reaching around the interior of his vehicle searching for something, which Stockley believed to be a gun. Stockley testified that Smith's demeanor suddenly changed, which Stockley believed indicated Smith had found the alleged gun. I am so sorry about the roboting. With the hotel internet, shit is a little fucky. Let me see if I can't restart my sound system for you guys right quick. Is that any better? If that's not better, do let me know. I'm gonna read a little bit more. Let me know if it's any better. Where was I? Stockley testified that Smith's demeanor, blah, blah, blah. Stockley opened fire through the window and shot 5 times, killing Smith. A handgun was later found in the vehicle between the driver's seat and the center console. All right, you know what? This entire fucking story is now pissing me the hell off. Who the hell thinks that this guy, the cop, I'm not saying that the cop was right to shoot 5 fucking times. Seriously, fire a warning shot over her. But at the same time, this man was reaching for a gun, ran in his car into a police car twice, and led the cops on a police chase. It comes as no surprise to me that these cops were in a high adrenaline state and that they were pissed, for lack of a better fucking word. Fucking pissed. So when this guy goes to reach for a gun, when the cop is telling him why the cop pulled his weapon. Now I don't understand why he shot 5 times instead of scare the fuck out of the guy, because the guy deserved to have the shit scared out of him. But something that Black Lives Matter should even be pursuing from my perspective. Why the hell are they on this story? Let us read through the other bullshit. Stockley verdict. Greitens, the mayor, or excuse me, the governor, Beyonce, Black St. Louis faith leaders, and law enforcement in the hopes of projecting a share that peaceful protest would be tolerated, but violence wouldn't. Devin Valdry in the chat says, cops need to do much better training, though. Oh, God, yes. I don't disagree with that in the slightest. We are too quick to hire cops without training them appropriately. It's the same thing. You don't want me being the person. I'm a twitchy and anxious person. You don't want me holding a gun. You want the person to be holding the gun to be calmer and more rational than you. So before the verdict, Greitens put up the National Guard on standby, and some troops were deployed Friday night to guard fire stations and other critical infrastructure that Greitens didn't specify. He was in St. Louis Friday night, enforcement officials. Police erected barricades around their own headquarters and the courthouse, and dozens of officers in flak jackets and helmets who welded batons and corralled demonstrators throughout the day and evening. Were any of you watching? Oh, God, there was a really great stream. I'm just not sure I can replay it for you effectively because I would be downloading and uploading at the same time. But there was a really great stream right when the cops started putting out their dispersal order, where you could see the cops following some amazing training, in my opinion. Created a fucking wall of police officers that stretched for blocks. And every time they were confronted with a group of people in a specific area, that line of cops would reshape itself to push those people back. But not all the cops would move. No, the line went from being straight to this waved line, pushing forward and back, and then balancing itself out. I will definitely add that link into the description. I will see you later, Wicked. That was, thank you for coming. Demonstrators occasionally lobbed objects into the fortified line of officers who used pepper spray to repel the crowd. Tensions flared several times, including when protesters blocked a bus full of riot officers, damaged a police cruiser with rocks, and later broke a window and splattered red paint on the home of Mayor Lyda Krewson. After a tense standoff at the mayor's home, police used tear gas to clear the area. Got real. There will definitely be more links to information about St. Louis in the description box below as I get to them. But this story in and of itself is, well, it's important because it's a continuation of the same story we've been hearing time and time and time again. We are faced with some very, very conflicted periods of time in which the cops barely know what they're doing, but the people rioting have no idea what they're doing, and they're not going to achieve the results they want. Police said they made nearly 24 arrests before dark, more in the evening, though they still haven't provided more than 12 hours later. I want you to take note that they actually contradict themselves in this article. No arrests were reported at any of the demonstrations, and 24 arrests before dark and more in the evening, though they still hadn't provided an updated figure more than 12 hours later. Police reported that 10 officers suffered injuries by the end of the night, including a broken jaw and dislocated shoulder. And some journalists reported having damaged and being threatened by protesters. Anticipating more demonstrations Saturday, the band U2 canceled its event concert in St. Louis. Oh no. because the police department said it wouldn't be able to provide its standard protection for the event. That sounds exactly like the kind of shit they were trying to tell. But you know what Ben Shapiro did? He forced them to spend $600,000 on erecting rebar barricades around Berkeley. Berkeley had built a wall before Trump did. I loved that quote. Police seemed to be taking on a different tact on Saturday. During a morning gathering in a suburban park, they forced members of the media to stand away from them over the objections of reporters, including one from the Associated Press. They devised the plan to meet at the malls. Followed the acquittal of Stockley after the suspected drug dealer crashed his car following a chase. Stockley testified that he saw Smith holding a silver revolver as he sped away and felt he was in imminent danger as he was approaching the vehicle later. Prosecutors said Stockley planted a gun in Smith's car after the shooting. Stockley's DNA was on the weapon, but Smith's wasn't. Dashcam video from Stockley's cruiser captured him saying, "Going to kill this expletive, don't you know it?" Less than a minute later, he shot Smith 5 times. Of course, Stockley's DNA was on the gun. He took the gun out of the car. But again, fucking idiot cops touching shit when they shouldn't touch shit. I'm not very fond of this judgment. Let me just say that right quick. The more I hear about this case, the more I remember about this case, the more I realize just how fucking retarded our cops are and how much our court system has to deal with what the cops can't. I mean, let's face it, no one in this situation is innocent. None whatsoever. What do we got? Stockley's lawyer dismissed the comment as human emotions, uttering it. Well, that's something I can completely understand. Oh, that sounds interesting. I will have to look that up, Devin. That sounds really interesting. Uttered during a dangerous pursuit. Yeah, cops say shit like that all the time. I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. I'm gonna take this motherfucker down. This bitch is mine. They make aggressive comments because they live a very aggressive lifestyle. I'm not approving that lifestyle. I'm not disapproving that lifestyle. I'm just saying, if it's in the culture, why don't we just address it as part of the culture? Anyway, that is our story of St. Louis. There is story number 1. We are moving on now to Russia Today, in which we read about Iran claiming to have the father of all bombs to overshadow the American mother of all bombs. When it comes to the Middle East, this is where some of my best opinions come out, because I fucking hate both sides of Islam. I fucking hate the CIA, and I hate all the fucking proxy wars. So this is just symptomatic of the greater fucking problem the CIA has created for us. A top commander in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claims that the country possesses the father of all bombs, which overshadows the most powerful non-nuclear ordnance in the U.S. Under a special request of the IRGC, the Corps' Aerospace Force Commander, Brigadier General Amir Ali Hajizadeh, I'm terrible at pronunciation, sorry, said in an interview on Friday. Following the proposal by the Aerospace Force for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Iran's defense industries manufactured a 10-ton bomb. These bombs are at our disposal, Press TV cited the commander saying. Launched from Ilyushin aircraft, and they are highly destructive, he added, without providing any further details on the capabilities of the ordnance. The commander called the device the father of all bombs, comparing it to the U.S. GBU-43/B massive ordnance air blast bomb, Moab, commonly known as the mother of all bombs. Since American devices weigh 9.8 tons and yield 11 tons in TNT equivalent, the IRGC commander presumably referred to the weight of the new Iranian ordnance rather than its destructive potential. The Moab was developed first in 2003 and first used in combat this April, when the U.S. dropped the device in Afghanistan on a mountain tunnel complex used by the Islamic State terrorists. An ordinance, however, might trigger a bomb paternity dispute. Oh my God. Okay, we're stopping right there. A bomb paternity dispute. That's brilliant. As Russia already possesses their ordinance known as the Daddy. I love it. I fucking love it. The aviation thermobaric bomb of increased power, ATBIP, known as the father of all bombs, was successfully tested by Russia in 2007 with impressive results for a non-nuclear device, a 44-ton yield when detonated. The bomb explodes midair, vaporizing its targets, collapsing structures, and leaving a moon-like scorched landscape. Now, I don't know if you guys remember how effective the Moab was, but the Moab was something fucking special. Now, when the Moab was dropped on Nangarhar in Afghanistan, there was a lot of conflict and stress about it, arguments going around. But what it really came down to was the Islamic State was trafficking people, drugs, and weapons through an underground tunnel system between Pakistan and Afghanistan through Nangarhar, excuse me. This was the Silk Road for the Islamic State. This was an unstoppable tunnel highway system. We're not talking about like cheap fucking tunnels. We're talking about entire road systems ground in these tunnels in which you could drive a large truck filled with munitions in underground out of Pakistan and into Afghanistan and into the hands of terrorists and quote-unquote freedom fighters. And there was all this fucking uproar before, when we were talking about dropping the bomb, but did they fucking shut up? And everyone else came out and said, yeah, we stopped a drug trade here, right? We also stopped a weapons trade. So for Iran to attempt to build what they call the father of all bombs in challenging the mother of all bombs, one, it doesn't actually make sense. They don't need a father of all bombs except to distract from the fact that they don't have a nuclear program. Not when we're speaking of anyway. But, fuck, I'm always mixing this up. Who's Shia and who's Sunni? Fuck, Shia. Not Shia LaBeouf. Please don't bring up Shia LaBeouf. Shia Islam is Saudi Arabia. Please be Saudi Arabia. Okay. Open the link, please. I'm waiting on you. I always get these two confused. Thank you. Yes, Shia is Iran, not Saudi Arabia. The Sunnis are in Saudi Arabia, but Shia is on the rise, whereas Sunni is on the decline right now. So for Iran to be producing this, they are doing this to impress Shia Muslims, not because it has any functional use for them. This is no different than Russia back in the day making really even North Korea right now doing parades of their missiles through civilian areas on the major roads. This is a fucking showing off to make their people feel good, but, well, how far can Iran launch it, for example? The one person who has the greatest fear for it would be Israel, right? Israel would probably get very upset if they fired that anywhere near them. However, who else would they fire it at? They wouldn't fire it at Turkey, their best ally, Russia. The only people they have to fire it at are Syria, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. And even Iraq, they're winning Iraq. They're winning Syria. Yes, Israel does have great anti-missile systems, but the fact that, the fact that, oh God, sorry. The fact that Iran is flaunting the bomb would make Israel very, very uncomfortable for multiple reasons, even if their missile systems are on point. Because let's face it, Israel is against both sides of the fucking Islamic conflict. Now, let's also take into consideration that Iran is basically a Muslim puppet state for Russia. Russia has a lot of influence there. They have a lot of power there. And it would make sense that if Russia felt Saudi Arabia was going to do something against their interests, they would provide Iran with the blueprints, or at least hints to the blueprints, for such a bomb. Condemning Russia, notably. This is geopolitics. You do what's best for your country, even if that means declaring proxy war, which everyone's done. The CIA is on both sides of the proxy war, behind Iran and behind Saudi Arabia. Russia is on the Iranian side of the proxy war, so at least they're forward, right? Erdogan, unpredictable Islam, but he will go with who's ever giving him the most money at the time, whether it's Iran or Saudi Arabia. And if you look at the history of Turkey, they have bounced back and forth a lot with their loyalties between Europe, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. But yes, the father of bombs is absolutely a safer grand game than a proper nuke, because then you can't be sanctioned. Well within the bounds of self-defense development and sovereign determination. NATO can't say a fucking thing. The Central Peace Accords can't say a fucking thing. But here's the thing. I don't think Iran is ever going to fire that thing. I hardly believe they have the launcher, or they have enough aircrafts to use them in any effective manner. We're talking about Iranian pilots. I don't trust Iranian pilots to fly people back and forth between Iran and Turkey, let alone drop an expensive bomb on Syria, Iran, or Israel, or Syria. Did I say Iran? I meant Iraq. Sorry. And again, most of these countries, the Shia terrorist organizations, the Shia freedom fighters, are taking a slight lead and taking land. So as Syria becomes dominantly Shia, as Iraq loses more Sunni population to fucking horrific, people talk about death squads. Death squads. They're funded by the CIA, by the Saudi Arabia or Iran, and they're equipped by the CIA or by Russia. It's a fucking proxy war, and this is just grandstanding to keep the proxy war going. It's like I said to Julian Assange before the hurricane. The CIA as an organization is incompetent. The individuals are smart, don't get me wrong, but the CIA itself is remarkably incompetent. Let us move on then to something a little funnier. We're going to skip that story for now. Devin Vaudry nails it on the fucking head right there. NATO is as good as their job as the League of Nations was. Who remembers how long the League of Nations lasted? I'll give you a hint. It's called World War II. But moving on to Washington, D.C., with a group of people who call themselves magnets. How do they work? In Washington, D.C., to protest FBI gang classification. Now, I picked this story because it being utterly hilarious. I knew a lot of juggalos when I was homeless, when I was on the streets of Seattle. Juggalos are a gang on the streets. Homeless juggalos are a serious problem for homeless facilities because they take advantage of services without ever following the rules. They're usually violent when they take advantage of services. They break a lot of rules in ways that affect other clientele of homeless services. Mostly, they're just so fucking irritating. Juggalos are holding a mass march in Washington, D.C. to protest their designation by the FBI as a gang. Is a collective term for fans of Detroit hip-hop duo the Insane Clown Posse. Can easily be identified for their distinctive black and white face paint and numerous tattoos. And we're going to be going through some tweets here, so you guys can see it, but most of the signs at the Juggalo March stick to their rallying call. F them as a criminal gang. Juggalo family, not a gang. That image right there is the Insane Clown Posse logo. I apologize, I'm kind of nauseous, so gas keeps bubbling up in my throat every so often. But yeah, I mean, this is exactly what you can expect of Juggalos protesting. They will come out for their homeless brethren. They always do. It's remarkable that they do. I'm impressed by it, personally. But of course, you tend to be a Juggalo from birth. If you are born into a Juggalo family, you will very likely be dressed in Juggalo clothes. You will have Juggalo face paint put on you. I mean, it's a more extreme version of the same kind of socialist indoctrination that other social programs and groups do, only it's a little more fucking insane. However, in 2011, fans of the group were designated a loosely organized hybrid gang in the FBI's 2000 Gang Task Force. Juggalos claim that since they have been subjected to various forms of discrimination, harassment, and profiling for simply identifying as a Juggalo, oh my god. Oh my god. Did they really just say identifying? Did they really just say identifying as a Juggalo? It's all over, guys. If you've identified as anything, well, that word just lost all of its fucking meaning, didn't it? It doesn't mean anything to identify as anything anymore because you can apparently identify as a Juggalo. Let's watch this fucking video. Okay, shut up, kid. Shut the fuck up. I don't care who told you this shit. You were lied to, kid. You were lied to. It's not about what music you like. It's about the fact that you are anarchists who commit violence in the streets, who actively circumvent capitalism in order to take advantage of welfare systems. No, it's not the kind of music you listen to. It's the kind of cult you have allowed yourself to become a part of. Jesus fucking Christ. It disgusts me when these people use kids to do this kind of shit. Absolutely fucking disgusts me. Thousands of Juggalos are expected to travel from all over the country for Saturday's march, meeting outside the Lincoln Memorial from 1 p.m. Scheduled until 2 a.m., the event will feature guest speeches and musical performances, most notably by Insane Clown Posse's Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope themselves. The organizers have laid down a series of strict rules for Juggalo family members to abide on Saturday, including no littering, that's going to be hard for them, no vandalism, very hard for them, no weapons, that's impossible for them, or anything that could be construed as a weapon, no alcohol, marijuana, or drugs, that's impossible for them, no vehicles of any kind, and no signs or flags that promote violence or threats. Gee, I wonder why the police asked for that. I mean, honestly, what do you think? Do you think that the police would have avoided that if there wasn't, I don't know, some expectation that this declared gang, hybrid, loosely affiliated gang, might commit violence? I mean, let's face it, people in groups are stupid and they do stupid shit like that. So of course they asked that. Look at the crowd at the Jolo March. Let's watch it. Ow, ow, ow. Sorry. Sorry. Oh my God, that was loud. Oh, wow. You know, I can't tell the difference between this and Occupy Wall Street 2011. They look remarkably similar. Don't mute yourself, baby. Oh, come on. You're flying a literal Maoist flag with the Juggalo logo, and you expect me to have any fucking sympathy? Look at this shit. Are you seeing that flag? That is the Chinese flag with the Juggalo icon in the place of the star. Oh my God, you want to piss me off? That's a good way to do it, fellas. Jesus Christ. Hatchet Man logo on a flag in the old Soviet style. I'm sorry, Soviet. I don't know why I was thinking of China. I get confused sometimes. I'm sorry, guys. I am very easy to confuse. But seriously, if you think Juggalos are just... They don't even believe in magnetism. These are people who deny science, who deny capitalism, who deny anything but what they can take for themselves and the Juggalo family. Good Lord. I'm sorry, I pissed myself off with the Juggalos again, so we're going to talk about Mueller for a second. Actually, you know what? We're rounding out to about 45 minutes in, and there are only a few more stories to go, so we are going to take a quick moment, and I am going to shell. I am currently in a hotel. I'm here for a week trying to get into an apartment, but I won't be able to get into the apartment unless I get $250. So please consider donating at paypal.me/SeviRose, patreon.com/Sevi, or donorbox.org/save-Sevi. If you would like to help me get the $250 I need in order to get into this apartment. If not, that's totally up to you. I don't care. I'm also going to be working on a few different gigs this week, mostly fixing people's computers in the area to see if I can't make that money up. I'm going to be trying to do anything for it, but I would genuinely appreciate your help. But we are moving back to Mueller, the man who is currently in charge of the Russia probe, the Russia hoax investigation. This is, of course, from the Daily Caller because I love them, and while they may be very biased, they most certainly talk about stories no one else wants to talk about. Yet another Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama donor has been picked to work on Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team of Russia investigators. The latest hire is Kyle Freeney, a Justice Department attorney working in the agency's International Money Laundering Unit. According to Politico, Freeney on Friday attended the grand jury testimony of Jason Maloney, the spokesman for former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. Politico notes that Freeney is the 17th attorney identified as a member of Mueller's investigative team. Mueller, a former FBI director, is conducting an expansive probe into possible campaign collusion involving the Trump team, as well as possible financial misdealings on the part of former Trump associates, such as Manafort. Freeney, who joined the DOJ in 2007, has something in common with at least 8 of her Mueller team members. According to documents maintained by the Federal Election Commission, Freeney has donated in each of the past 3 presidential elections to Democratic nominees Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. She donated $250 on 3 separate occasions: September 13, 2008, June 30, 2012, and September 9, 2016. For 7 months in 2011, Freeney worked as an attorney in the Obama White House it just occurred to excuse me. It just occurred to me that, God, it would be so much easier to get into a hotel or into an apartment if I just supported Hillary and Barack Obama. Good God, $250. Geez, that would have been so easy. Anyway, for 7 months in 2011, Freeney worked as an attorney in the Obama White House on security clearance issues. Some Republicans, including President Trump, who's not a Republican, has criticized the Mueller team over its Democrat-heavy roster. While Mueller himself is a registered Republican, the 9 lawyers who have given to Democrats have shelled out nearly $65,000 in donations altogether. Trump, who is said to have mused about firing Mueller, commented on the donations back in June, telling Fox News, "I can say that the people that have been hired are all Hillary Clinton supporters. Some of them worked for Hillary Clinton. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous, if you want to know the truth from that standpoint." Now, here's the thing about the Russia probe, right? The fact that every bit of evidence about Russia has been completely fucking debunked with regards to collusion between the Trump team and Russia. There is evidence that Russian intelligence was doing everything they could to stop Clinton from getting into the White House because she wanted to start a war with Russia. Now, is that collusion? No. Just because a foreign intelligence agency shares the same interests as Donald Trump does not mean they were colluding. But does it mean that intelligence agents could have acted in ways that benefited Trump? Absolutely. Does it matter? No. It doesn't matter in the fucking slightest, because we are 9 months past, 10 months, almost 11 months past the election, and impeachment is going to be impossible. The president has done something, and we're going to be talking about this story next. So let me move it over here. Oh, blah, come back. Trump has been carefully dancing along party lines, moving to the center and then reaching across the middle to deal with Democrats in the last week or 2 in order to be the president of the United States as compared to the president of the Republicans. And I'm personally very impressed with it. However, people like The Guardian are most certainly out to shit all over him for this, remarkably normal presidential act. He likes us, Chuck Schumer said. Well, he likes me anyway. The Democratic Minority Leader, talking with glee to his Republican counterpart Mitch McConnell, was caught by a live microphone on the Senate floor. Schumer continued, "Here's what I told him. I said, Mr. President, you're much better off if you can sometimes step right and sometimes step left. If you have to step just in one direction, you're boxed." He gets that. The snatch of conversation came after a White House dinner of honey sesame crispy beef and chocolate cream pie to which McConnell was pointedly not invited. Instead, Schumer, along with House counterpart Nancy Pelosi, enjoyed red and white wine, while the teetotal president sipped Coke. They emerged claiming to have struck a deal to protect young undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. As Trump turned to Democrats for a second time in 2 weeks, Republicans on Capitol Hill were left wondering whether they had lost sway with the president, despite having control of both chambers and the mounting legislative agenda. There was also a furious backlash from some in the Trump base, including a photo of Make America Great Again hat going up in flames on the right-wing website Breitbart. But the unorthodox maneuver also raised questions over how far Democrats should go to court him without alienating their own grassroots. What remained unclear was Trump's strategy, if he has one. Oh, you of little fucking faith. The fuck do you know about strategy? Because the strategy is so obvious, you literally just said it. You literally just said it. He is taking people away from the extreme base and pulling them back into the center. Schumer can say whatever the fuck he wants. We know that it's Trump who is dancing left and right, who has been dancing left and right for months. He's just had no support from the left until now. The left thought they were able to get him over a barrel, and he instead invited them in with welcome arms. And you know what? It's the best move he could have made. Because while some of his more extreme supporters on the right might get pissed at this, he's going to gain so much support from the centrists on the left. His motives for step right, step left appear various. He's fallen out with the leaders of his own party, McConnell and House Speaker Ryan, because they're pieces of shit who are selling out their own party, especially after their failure to pass healthcare legislation. He instinctively gravitates towards Schumer, a fellow New Yorker, and towards a pragmatic deal-making rather than ideology. Not least of all, he's basking in positive media coverage after months of being hammered. I think that's part of his strategy too, guys. Last week, after working with Schumer and Pelosi on a 3-month extension for the national debt ceiling, he called Schumer, who recounted to the New York Times. He said, "This was so great." Here's what he said. "Do you watch Fox News?" I said, "Not really." "They're praising you," meaning me. But he said, "And your stations," I guess meaning NBC and CNN, "are praising me. This is great." Trump's addiction to the cable TV news channels, which only funds you, Guardian, seems intact, but he's spending less time in the right-wing fever swamps of the internet and instead moving to the left-wing fever swamps of the internet. John Kelly, the chief of staff, has reportedly restricted the number of articles that staff print out from such sites as Breitbart and bring to his attention. The dramatically different information Trump receives daily under Chief of Staff John Kelly is an underlooked factor in Trump's decision to double down on his partnership with Democratic leaders. This, along with the replacement of Press Secretary Sean Spicer by the less gaffe-prone Sarah Sanders, and the ousting of bomb throwers Steve Bannon and Sebastian Gorka, as well as Anthony Scaramucci, has given hope that some of the administration is finally professionalizing and steering towards a middle course. Well, that was the plan all along, wasn't it? I mean, let's face it. What has Trump been doing? He's been completely alienated from one entire side for the last 8 months. There has been no, there has been no desire to help him, no desire to meet him halfway, no interest whatsoever. Trump had to give them something to start pulling the centrists, which, whether you like him or not, Chuck Schumer really is. He's an economic centrist. He's a fucking New Yorker. And by pulling in Schumer, he pulls in, believe it or not, a good, 7 electoral votes in a few years? Someone who remembers the Electoral College better than me, please correct me about that, because I can't remember how many votes New York gets anymore. I want to say it's like 7 or 8, but I can't recall off the top of my head. But even as political pundits pondered the dawn of a new era and talked of a pivot or bipartisan president, Trump's reliably twitchy thumbs signaled that there was no meaningful shift in behavior on the horizon. In a characteristic early morning tweet storm, Trump suggested on Friday that the perpetrators behind the Parsons Green terrorist attacks were already in the sights of Scotland Yard. I don't see what that has to do with any of this story. Trump also seized on a moment to reaffirm the need for his travel ban against certain Muslim-majority countries, arguing it should be far larger, tougher, and more specific, while adding, but stupidly, that would not be politically correct. Well, he's right. Isn't that stupid? Isn't it stupid that it's not politically correct to politically protect your country? 29. Holy fuck. I don't know where I got 7 or 8. I'm an idiot. Oh, that was my fuck up, guys. Yeah. Disregard I suck cocks. 29 electoral votes. And he needs those 29 electoral votes again. He can't lose those. And believe it or not, New York City is actually a fan of reducing immigration. But the city at large votes against certain immigration policies. So Trump is just going with what he knows. In one moment, he was Trump the dealmaker, relishing in several opportunities to speak to reporters about his negations with Democrats. But at another turn, when asked about a meeting he held with Tim Scott, the Senate's only black Republican, Trump once again declared that both sides were to blame for the violence in Charlottesville. They were. They absolutely were. Both sides were to blame for the violence in Charlottesville, Virginia. While Schumer and Pelosi spent the immediate moments following their dinner with Trump crafting a statement about a potential deal on Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, the president was, by contrast, more preoccupied with tweeting about crooked Hillary Clinton. He also made a series of comments and tweets that sowed confusion about what had been agreed. The shifting sand leaves mainstream Republicans, hardline Trump supporters, and Democrats all scrambling to find their footing. McConnell and Ryan have tried to be circumspect, despite what might have been seen as public humiliation. At this point, we're just getting to the Guardian trying to shit on as many Republicans as possible, and I genuinely appreciate it, honestly, because the Republicans have needed a bit of a kick in the pants. And instead of focusing on the House Republicans and the Senate Republicans, they've been focused entirely on Trump, which is such a waste of media. They have a lot of jobs to do, not just pay attention to Trump. Hearing them shit on Ryan and McConnell is quite important because they're the ones who fucked up the healthcare repeal and replace. They're the ones who are basically, what's the term? Rhino? Republican in name only? Yeah. We have a Congress full of Republicans in name only who are against smaller government, who are against reducing the costs of government, who want nothing more than to secure their position further. Career politicians absolutely disgust me. Congressman Pete Sessions, a Republican from Texas, and the chair of the Rules Committee, told reporters, Typically, a president of our party would work with our party on a proposal that will be supportive of, and so we're learning now how he wants to operate. As the country adapts itself to Mr. Trump's leadership, we're learning more about what that leadership means. Yeah, that leadership means he's going to be wise regardless of what party gives him the best deal. Arakeen Green Moon in the chat says, it's ironic because if they had given some of the things Trump wanted, their jobs would be secure. Absolutely. If they had gone harder against the health care and tried to go for like a 1 or 2 page repeal and replace, Trump would have given them everything they wanted. If they had worked with Trump on the wall, Trump would have given them everything they wanted. But no, in order to get his wall, in order to make his promises, in order to secure his deals, he has to say, fuck you, Republicans. If you guys aren't going to even be what your party is about, then I'm going to go talk to your enemies because that pisses you off. But I'm not doing it to piss you off. I'm doing it because I make deals. Other conservatives were more outspoken. Straight after Wednesday's dinner, Iowa Congressman Steve King retweeted, Trump's base is blown up, destroyed, irreparable, and disillusioned beyond repair. No promise is credible. That is completely untrue. He's lost like 2 supporters in the public eye. Ann Coulter and the current editor of Breitbart. I can't remember who's the current active political editor for U.S. News. The conservative commenter Ann Coulter tweeted, at this point, who doesn't want Trump impeached? Which is a complete contradiction of what she was saying 2 months ago. Life comes at you fast. And Breitbart, run by Trump's former chief strategist Bannon, ran the headline, amnestied on. Yeah, they want to make him feel guilty because they feel a little bit paranoid, scared that they might too have to work with the other side. They might actually have to gasp, talk with people instead of being a fucking cunt for a living. A disrespectful and argumentative cunt. Oh my God, Ann Coulter, I love the work you do, but I can't stand listening to you. But the base is no monolith. Fox News and conservative broadcaster Rush Limbaugh praised Trump for his negotiation move. The crowds who pour into his raucous rallies are unlikely to lose faith over horse trading on Capitol Hill, especially with their hostility towards the Republican elites. I see The Guardian is not as able to lie about Trump at this point, and I'm really happy about that. I really do think, not me specifically, I'm fucking nobody, but people like Styx Hexenhammer, people like Mundane Matt, people like Sargon of Akkad really are fucking holding these newspapers to account and forcing them to play a wise game. And of course the centrists love him, Arakeen. The centrists love him because he is a centrist. He always was. A left-leaning centrist at that. He just ran on the Republican ticket because, I don't know if you've noticed, but the entire country kind of rests on the left side. You've got, you know, if you look at the political compass and split it up like a grid, that first line all the way to the left, that separates the far fucking left from the left. And then that second line from the left, that separates the left from the Republicans. And then everything past that, at least according to The Guardian, to English and American newspapers, is the far right. So with this disturbing misplacement of the center of politics, it's important for Trump to do these things, to run on a Republican ticket, because many Republicans basically fall into the centrist left position at this point. It's important for him to reach across the aisle because it's not that he needs the support, it's that he needs to make these deals. This president is going to win or lose his next election based on the number of deals which he has promised and he successfully makes. For Democrats, too, the moment of opportunity is fraught with risks. Trump is seen by many of their supporters as a demagogue, misogynist, and white nationalist to be resisted at all costs. He is also notoriously opportunistic, improvisational, and mercurial, prone to change like the wind in response to a headline or slight. Some on the left warn that anyone who gets too close to him is likely to be burned. Norman Solomon, a Bernie Sanders delegate from California to last year's Democratic National Convention, said, "It's extremely unlikely that Trump will sucker punch Chuck and Nancy. It would be so surprising if that doesn't happen fairly soon." Extremely likely. I don't know. He's not. That's not who Trump is. He's going to wait for them to shit on him, and then he's going to change the deal. Because that's how he does things. Once you shit on him, he changes deals. So it's not going to be Trump shitting on Chuck and Nancy. It's going to be Chuck and Nancy shitting on Trump, and Trump redesigning his deal to punish them for it, because he's in the position to do so. Solomon, coordinator of the online activist group rootsaction.org, added, "What's also a huge danger in the current bipartisan foreplay is what could be called the optics of Democratic leadership making nice with a symbolic and actual representative of massive greed and oligarchy." Okay, now we're just getting into fucking hate speech, aren't we? This man hates Trump. If Democrats want to oppose Trump as the heartless corporate monster he isn't, then making nice with him in photo ops and boasting that he likes them is not good groundwork for winning working class votes in the next few years. Democratic leaders on Capitol Hill are aware of the limitations posed by working hand in hand with Trump. One Senate Democratic aide, who did not wish to be named, said the goal was to address a set of issues requiring immediate attention, namely the fate of DACA recipients and legislation to stabilize healthcare insurance markets. With a new deadline of mid-December to fund the government and raise the debt limit, the aide said Democrats have a limited window to use leverage under Republican control. Trump's erratic behavior, the aide cautioned, makes the price of our cooperation very, very high. I think you have to weigh what you're able to achieve. It'll be very apparent he's not a normal president. But if he's willing to give you 100% of what you're asking for, you take it. And then you continue to go after him where he's wrong. Well, I can't disagree with that statement at all, honestly. That's actually a very rational statement from someone in the minority political group. Trump's fluid loyalties have provided fresh fodder to comedians. I don't care about that shit. Anyway, we are going to travel. We're going to take just a minute now because I got to check on the clock. We're going to read a little bit of the chat. Our Congress and Senate is filled with nothing but career politicians. I'm thinking of starting a new political party, the anti-incumbent party. You know what? I'm with you, Main Gun. That's a fucking good idea. I would vote for the anti-incumbent. I mean, I usually do, not by voting for the other party, usually by voting for some small libertarian candidate. I've always loved the small libertarian candidates. There was a programmer back in 2008 in Texas named Michael Bednarik. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was my candidate. I wanted the libertarian programmer to be our president because programmers solve problems. Let's see. Otta King Green Moon says he only needed enough Democrats to replace the Never-Trumpers, which is a very known factor now. The centrists love him, something the America hasn't had in a while. I know, right? That is absolutely fucking important in my mind, that we rebuild the American center. And not just the American center politically, but the American center financially as well, which is one of the reasons I agree with Trump on so many points, and why over the last 2 years he has become more and more and more a very proud vote that I put in. I'm glad to have voted for President Trump, and I don't care if I get punched when I walk out of my hotel room for a cigarette after this show for saying that, because I know the walls are pretty thin, and I've said some things that might have upset people. Philippines Duterte asks head of a human rights agency. Oh, wait, I'm reading this. I'm sorry. Devin Vaudry says, just saying, as a Canadian, build that wall. The USA is the wall for Canada. Oh, I love you. Oh, that is brilliant. I love that one. Can I use that? I want to keep that. Otta King Greenmoon also says, I think the working class is with the Republicans for the moment, so they are lost anyhow. I think the good presidents between those that didn't need a Republican Senate or Democrat. You're absolutely right about that. Reagan didn't need a conformist Senate. Clinton, who I may hate, but he didn't need a conformist Senate. Looking back, Nixon did not have a conforming Senate. The biggest, Kennedy had a conforming Senate, but a non-conforming CIA that killed him. Anyway, let's get to this story of President Duterte from the Philippines. I love this man. This man is fucking hilarious to me. Philippines Duterte asks head of a human rights agency, are you a pedophile? Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte gestures as he delivers his speech during the 116th Police Service Anniversary inside the Philippine National Police Headquarters in Quezon City, Metro Manila, Philippines, August 9, 2017. Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, I don't know how to pronounce that, so if someone wants to correct me in the audience, please do, asked the head of the country's Commission on Human Rights if he was a pedophile for focusing on the killing of teenagers in the government's bloody war on drugs. Duterte also suggested to lawmakers using CHR's proposed 678 million pesos budget to buy the police body cameras if they don't want to restore funding for the agency, which he has clashed with repeatedly over his anti-drug campaign. The CHR requested a budget of 1.72 billion pesos for 2018, but the government proposed 678 million instead. Duterte allies in the lower house of Congress then voted to allocate just 1,000 pesos in what the critics of the drug war said was retaliation for its efforts to investigate thousands of killings in the past 15 months, including 2 of the teenagers in August. Why is this guy so pre-suffocated with the issue of young people, especially boys? Are you a pedophile? Duterte asked, referring to CHR head Chito Gascon. Why are you smitten with teenagers? Are you? I'm having my doubts. Are you gay or are you a pedophile? Gascon did not immediately reply to a request for comments. Duterte also accused Gascon of being a spokesman for the opposition and criticized his scrutiny of police anti-drug activities. Why can't you move on to other issues that are besetting the country? Duterte asked, citing the suffering of people besieged in the southern city of Marawi. Critics say police are executing suspects and say the government has what is effectively a kill policy. Duterte has rejected that, and police say they only kill in self-defense. CHR has long said it lacks the manpower and resources to fully investigate the killings, the majority of which activists say are users and small-time peddlers, with very few high-profile arrests. Vice President Leni Robredo, who is not Duterte's running mate and has locked horns with him numerous times, said the lawmakers' move regarding CHR's budget effectively abolishes the constitutional body. Filipinos are largely supportive of the crackdown as a solution to tackling rampant crime, which Duterte says stems from drug addiction. Duterte reiterated that there will be no let-up in the campaign, which he said was targeted at organized criminals trafficking drugs, and not at teenagers without sin. The firebrand leader, who is also fighting communist rebels following a breakdown in peace talks with the government, said he remained open to resuming negotiations to nearly 5 decades of that conflict. Now, for those of you who aren't very aware of the Philippines is the direct route in which most drugs from China and Pakistan enter Mexico and then come up to the United States. it's actually extremely important that the Philippines crack down on those drugs, because the money goes directly to funding the Islamic terrorists in the southern half of the Philippines, who are just destroying part of the country. We're not dealing with like rich white drug dealers in the Philippines. What we're dealing with is disturbed Islamic terrorists who trade drugs for money for weapons, and then use those weapons to make political points. By doing what he's doing, President Duterte is weakening Pakistan and limiting Chinese drug flow. And I am all for it. Now, do I want to see kids die? No. But I would like people to consider why those kids are in that place in the first place. Why those kids are around those situations in the first place. After all, the Philippines is not the most first world of places. Even Manila is a very violent and dangerous place to live. So you have to stop and recognize just what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with kids who are being used by drug lords to move drugs. Kids who are addicted to drugs and have no other choice but to work with this man who is giving them money for moving drugs up their ass, or moving drugs in their stomach as a mule to Mexico. The police officers do their fucking best, but if the kid attacks them with a gun, well, the police are completely within their right to shoot. Situation, it's a dark situation. But this drug war that Duterte sees as his best option. Because what's his alternative? Honestly, do you know what his alternative is? His alternative is the Philippines turning into an American, police state, military state. He has to keep those terrorists away from the base, because if those terrorists even touch the American airbase on the Philippines, well, we've got a Pacific War. I would love for drugs to be legalized and regulated. However, the addictive and health risk properties of opiates make it a very difficult subject that has to be discussed, if not legislated. Although I do think there are non-legislative ways to deal with it. And as for the Filipino drug war, this drug war has actually been going on for as long as the American drug war. So my problem, you know what my problem is? I don't see it as a drug war. I see it as part of the war on Islam. And I am for the war on Islam, which is, it's the same thing as being against the drug trafficking from Canada to bring carfentanil and fentanyl and other high-powered opiates into the United States. The Philippines is I don't think it's a I don't think it's a territory. It has like a special title because it's its own republic. So it is, they have their own sovereignty, but we are technically their largest trade ally, and our military bases provide a large percentage of their GDP. But no, they're not technically they are technically a unitary sovereign state under the influence of the United States. All right, and one final story we are going to be talking about. This is the last story of the night, guys, so if you've been bored this entire time, I'm sorry. It's not getting better from this point, but if you've been having fun, thank you so much. If you've loved the information I'm sharing, go ahead and rape that like button in the ass, and we are going to roll on into this last story. Report Congressman chats with White House about potential Assange pardon. California Republican Representative Dana Rohrabacher spoke to White House Chief of Staff John Kelly Wednesday about a potential deal with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in exchange for info that exonerates Russia of hacking allegations, according to a Friday report from the Wall Street Journal. The Daily Caller first reported that the Rohrabacher meeting was that Rohrabacher met with Assange in mid-August. Rohrabacher later spoke to the DC and said that Assange could be potentially pardoned for information that will be of dramatic importance to the United States. Assange has been in asylum since 2012 in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, following sexual assault charges in Sweden that have since been dropped. However, the U.S. is reportedly investigating Assange and WikiLeaks for its dissemination of hundreds of thousands of classified documents. The Journal reported that Rohrabacher spoke with Kelly in order to strike a deal in which the U.S. would drop the probe. The California congressman told the D.C. that Assange, who promises to never reveal sources, told Rohrabacher during their August meeting that he could prove that Russia wasn't behind the hacking and dissemination of emails from the Democratic National Committee during the 2016 election. U.S. intelligence has pointed the finger at Russian intelligence services for the DNC email link. Kelly told Rohrabacher that he should go to the American intelligence community with his proposal, according to the Journal report. The Journal report suggested that Rohrabacher has yet to see the information promised by Assange, and he reportedly told Kelly Assange would get nothing, obviously, if what he gave us was not proof. This is a story I've been following for some time, and if you've been following my channel, you know I have a soft spot in my heart for Julian Assange, a man who anyone will lie about to try and get him in trouble with governments and states. So many, I mean, what was it? It was like 8 rape charges at the peak before falling back down to 2, and then those last 2 charges were dropped. And yet the United States, as an ally of Sweden, said that they would arrest and extradite him to Sweden if he ever entered the States. And then after the charges were dropped, we're still like, well, we're still going to arrest you because you're an enemy of the state working with Russian intelligence. But the fact of the matter is he's not working with Russian intelligence. He's working with any intelligence he can get for his own interests, right? This is, of course, WikiLeaks, one of the current best sources for information about the history, the cable history of all different governments. If you want to know about the mess in Argentina or Venezuela, go to WikiLeaks. If you want to understand what happened in Paraguay, go to WikiLeaks. If you want to know what Hillary Clinton thinks of any politician, go to WikiLeaks. Because this man does not distinguish between governments. He only distinguishes what must be provided in order to prove the efficacy or inefficacy of government statements. The fact that he is still eligible for being arrested, or even worse, manners, baby, please. I know, you hear people bitching outside the door. Sorry about that, LT. Someone walked by the door and LT didn't know who it was. What was I just saying? Right, he doesn't distinguish by government. He only cares about the efficacy and inefficacy of public government statements. So, I mean, for the United States to be continually attempting to arrest this man is utterly disgusting to me. Absolutely abhorrent. It is one of the biggest limitations my government has shown in, well, okay, never mind. It's shown a lot in that time. We're just going to skip past that statement. But the fact of the matter is, Julian Assange, I mean, good God, when I look at, did you guys see his last speech from the balcony of the Ecuadorian embassy? I mean, this is just my perspective. Wrong. He could be manipulating the fuck out of my emotional ass. But you know what? I see a terrified man who picks his words as carefully as any CIA agent, any intelligence operative. He's so careful with his words, even when he's saying, I miss my family. Careful with his words, because anything and everything he says can and will be used against him in a court of law if the opportunity arises. So this is the first good news about Assange I've heard in quite some time. And Representative Dana Rohrabacher definitely needs to, you need to check him out because he's been doing some really interesting work. When I did the piece about multiple people coming out against the Russia lies in hearings in the Senate with my favorite senator, oh God, what's his name? Gowdy, Senator Trey Gowdy, right? They, that information, most of that information came from Julian Assange, but it was Dana Rohrabacher who was kind of herding the cats together in the background, and I was very, very happy to see someone taking the lead on that. I would say there's a good 5 or 6 strong libertarian Republicans in the Senate and maybe 20 to 25 in the House. And these people are the saving grace for our government right now. And this brings me to my final thoughts for the show, because we've gone through quite a lot here today. We've discussed, of all fucking things, juggalos, magnets, how do they work? And we've discussed Julian Assange, we've discussed Trump and DACA. But I want to address one last thought. We're faced in this modern age with such division. Everyone wants to find out what group they're in, right? People are trying to damn or label Trump as a Republican or a Democrat or a centrist, but he's not. None of us are. We are only ourselves. We are only individuals. We can ascribe or identify as whatever the fuck we want, as proven by the Juggalos. You can identify as a Juggalo right now, apparently. Good God. But none of these identities mean anything at all. All that matters at this point is paying attention to the very fine detail. The very fine detail that the world is dividing. And if we aren't able to take care of ourselves individually, if we don't look out for ourselves as individuals and help each other as individuals regardless of politics or party, well, we're fucked, aren't we? We gotta work together. All of us have to make deals in one way or another in order to get through this extremely difficult time. But you gotta be smart about it, and you can't be sitting there waiting for one of these extremists, one of these fucking sensationalizing bitches to lie about you before you talk, because once they start lying, you can't really say anything. You just got to ignore them until they're done with their shit. Instead, you have to focus on the work. You have to focus on what matters to you, because that's all that you have. Work your little ass off and do what makes you happy. Not because you're a Republican or a Democrat or a libertarian or an individualist or a socialist or a communist. Fuck your labels. What to do is start thinking for yourself and stop comparing yourself to other people. Because you'll find if you gave those people a very honest look, they're just as shitty a person as you or me. They're just as worthless as you or me. But if you sit there and compare yourself to them, you're only going to look at the shit that they're better at than you, or you're better at than them. But you're in a world with 7, nearly 8 billion people now. Comparing yourself is just wasting time. Comparing and contrasting against a different party is a waste of time. There's nothing to be gained by joining in the socialist collective of Republicans any more than there is to join in the socialist collective of Democrats. So, take what I say here to heart, because it may sound bizarre, but I really do care about you people. I really do love you all. The fact that you guys will sit here and listen to me talk for a fucking hour and a half straight about some really fucking politically upsetting shit for, well, people in the next hotel room over. It means a lot to me. And that is reason enough alone to keep doing what I'm doing, because I love making videos. But I'm not making them for you. I'm doing this for me. This is practice to remember things, because my memory is really shit. And as my health gets worse, I need to keep up with my exercise, and I have to keep up with my mental exercises. Otherwise, I'm just going to end up as stupid as I usually do whenever I get super sick. So I am going to start rounding out the show, but first we are going to do some shout-outs. So much thanks to Arakin Green Moon, Main Gunno 7, Sunny T, Devin Valdry, Jacob Brown, Kettlebell 1, who was just trolling, but I still love you, Patriarchy Bear, Akias Keith, Levi, the Lord of Cancer, the Wicked Soul, and all of the people who support me on Patreon or on any of the other places where you can send me money. You guys are absolutely the best. Now, again, I'm going to be doing some new stuff with my channel. So if you want to help me out getting my apartment in this next week, and I have to do this in this week, that's basically, I mean, if I don't get it done by the 21st, I'm sleeping rough again for a few days. Please, please send a little money to paypal.me/SeviRose or patreon.com/Sevi or donorbox.org/save-Sevi. I'll put those in the chat box now. And I will be getting a small apartment, a safe place to live. Sorry, I'm bad at typing and talking at the same time. All right, and do me the honor of leaving a message, right? Because, yeah. But if you don't think that it's worth it just giving me money, I'm actually going to be starting something new on VidMe and on Patreon. I'm going to be recording the videos and uploading them to these two places, but they're only going to be for Patreons or subscribers on VidMe. So if you go over there, I will have daily vlogs. Well, daily vlogs on weekdays. I want to save the weekends for uploading my big videos and my 7at7with7 streams. But yeah, every weekday I will be producing a vlog that you will gain access to, in which I'm talking, excuse me, a lot more personally and off the cuff. No script, no news article. But if you are even contributing $1, you will gain access to that. And that support will give you, and that will give you access to that, as well as a lot of shit posts I'm just going to be making specifically for my subscribers, who are my paid subscribers. Yeah, that is just about all I've got. So thank you all so very much. Thank you for everything you've done, and I am going to try one more time to play this song, because I fucking love this song and it's retarded that it didn't play the first time. Let us see if this works this time. All right, here's our outro music. Is that playing? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm doing something retarded. I'm sorry. That's my fault. Let me switch.
I certainly haven't been shopping for any new shoes, and I certainly haven't been spreading myself around. I still only travel by foot, and by foot it's a slow climb, but I'm good at being uncomfortable, so I can't stop changing all the time. I notice that my opponent is always on the go and won't go slow so's not to focus, and I notice he'll let you ride with any guy as long as they go fast from whence he came, but he's no good at being uncomfortable, so he can't stop staying exactly the same. If there was a better way to go, then it would find me. I can't help it, the road just rolls out behind me. Be kind to me or treat me mean, I'll make the most of it. I'm an extraordinary machine. I seem to you to seek a new disaster every day. You deem me due to clean my view and be at peace and lay. I mean to prove, I mean to move in my own way and say I've been getting along for long before you came into the play. I am the baby of the family, it happens so everybody cares and wears the sheep's clothes while they chaperone. Curiously looking down your nose at me while you appease, courteous to try and help, but let me set your mind at ease. If there was a better way to go, then it would find me. I can't help it, the road just rolls out behind me. Be kind to me or treat me mean, I'll make the most of it. I'm an extraordinary machine. Do I so worry you? Don't need to hurt myself. But it's to no avail. I don't want the pain. That's if there was a better way to go, then it would find me. I can't help it, the road just rolls out behind me. Be kind to me or treat me mean, I'll make the most of it. I'm an extraordinary machine. If there was a better way to go, then it would find me. I can't help it, the road just rolls out behind me. Be kind to me or treat me mean, I'll make the most of it. I'm an extraordinary machine.